You know, whenever you turn on the news or scroll through your feed and hear about the economy, there's one term you hear over and over and over again: GDP. It's treated like the world's biggest report card, giving every country a grade. But is it really a fair grade? And what is it actually telling us? So let's get into it.
I mean, think about it. How do you even begin to measure something as huge and complicated as an entire nation's economy? How do we know if things are getting better or worse? Well, for a long time, the answer everyone's turned to is gross domestic product, or what we all know as GDP. It is, without a doubt, the most watched economic number on the planet.
Okay, so to really get what the headlines are talking about, we've got to get specific. Let's pop the hood and see what this powerful three-letter acronym is actually counting.
All right, here's the official definition. And you know, every single word in this sentence is super important. Market value just means we use prices, dollars and cents, to add up everything from a cup of coffee to a brand new airplane. Final goods is crucial. This means we only count the finished product, the car itself, not the steel, rubber, and glass that went into making it. It's a clever way to avoid counting the same thing twice. And within a country's borders means, look, if a factory is physically in a country, its production counts towards that country's GDP. Doesn't matter who owns it.
This slide is perfect for showing how this works in the real world. You go out and buy a new car? Boom, that's new production, that's in GDP. But what about a used car? Nope, that's just an asset changing hands. Nothing new was actually made. Or think about this. Paying a professional to cut your hair counts as a service. But all the valuable work you do yourself, like mowing your own lawn or taking care of your kids, it's incredibly valuable, for sure. But because no money changes hands in a market, GDP doesn't see it.
Okay, so how on earth do economists actually calculate this massive number? Well, they've got this famous formula. It's kind of like a recipe, right? It has 4 main ingredients that, when you add them all up, give you the whole economic pie.
And this is it. This is the big one, called the expenditure approach. And the core idea here is actually pretty simple. The total value of everything a country makes has to equal the total amount of money that's spent on all that stuff. So let's see what these letters actually stand for.
All right, let's break this down. First up is C for consumption. This is the biggest piece for most countries. It's basically us. Buying groceries, going to the movies, getting a new phone, you name it. Then you've got I for investment. This is businesses spending money on things they need to grow, like new computers, delivery vans, or building a new factory. G is for government. Think of all the money spent on roads, schools, and military salaries. And finally, you have this little bit in parentheses, X minus M. That's just net exports. We take the value of everything we sell to other countries and subtract the value of everything we buy from them. Add C, I, G, and net exports, and bingo, you've got GDP.
Okay, this next part is absolutely critical. Let's imagine an economy just produces 100 apples and they sell for $1 each. GDP is 100 bucks. Simple. But what if the next year it still only produces 100 apples, but now the price of each apple has gone up to $1.10 because of inflation? Well, the nominal GDP is now $110. On paper, it looks like the economy grew by 10%, but did we actually make anything more? Nope, same 100 apples. And that is exactly why economists focus on real GDP, which strips out the effects of inflation to see if we're actually producing more stuff or not.
All right, so now we know what GDP is, how we measure it, but this is where we get to the really important part of this whole discussion. We are always told that a rising GDP number is good news, but does it really tell us the whole story about how a country and its people are really doing?
And this really is the big question, isn't it? If the news reports that GDP went up by 3%, does that automatically mean that your life got 3% better? Well, the short answer is a big not really. And here's exactly why. GDP is totally blind to some huge parts of our lives. It tells us the size of the economic pie, but it says nothing about how that pie is sliced up. That's income inequality. It also doesn't subtract the costs of pollution. In fact, cleaning up a massive oil spill actually adds to GDP because of all the spending. Think about that. A devastating hurricane can even boost GDP because of all the money spent on rebuilding. And like we said before, it completely ignores all the unpaid work that actually keeps our society functioning.
And this quote just nails the biggest criticism of all. A country's economy can look like it's booming, just soaring on paper, but if all of that new wealth, all of those gains are flowing to a tiny group at the very top, then most people might not feel any better off at all. GDP just gives us the total. It says absolutely nothing about who gets the slices. So, okay, after hearing all that, you're probably thinking, why on earth do we still use this thing, right? If it has all these blind spots, why is it still the headline number we see everywhere? Well, the truth is, for all its imperfections, it's still an incredibly important tool. And here's the thing, for all its problems, GDP gives us a common ruler, a yardstick. It's the most consistent way we have to measure an economy over time. It lets us compare the US economy of today to the US economy of 1950. It lets us compare China's economy to Germany's economy right now, using the same set of rules. Governments and central banks use it to make huge decisions on taxes, spending, and interest rates. And it's the official number used to say when we're in a recession. So no, it's not perfect, not by a long shot, but it's powerful because everyone uses the same rule.
So really, you can think of GDP like the speedometer in your car. It's absolutely essential for telling you how fast you're going, but it tells you nothing about the traffic ahead, if the engine is overheating, or if you're about to run out of gas. It gives us one number, a powerful snapshot, but it's not the whole picture of our well-being. So that leaves us with a huge question. What are the really important things that we're just not measuring at all?